Family, welcome to another episode of Financial Freedom. I am Derek Brown, your host and accompaniment on this journey. And y'all, as always, I have to say thank you. I don't ever want to forget the marvelous people who have enabled us to continue doing this show. We started in March 2020 in the midst of a pandemic, looking to inspire and inform. And because of your views, you've allowed us to do that. Over 45 million views from around the world later. We're still here. We went from one show on Hope TV to 35 shows on Hope TV, and we're still expanding. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for your support. If you could, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on various platforms under one handle. That's at the Hope TV. That's one word, all caps, at the Hope TV. You can find us on various platforms. As always, let's go ahead and get into it. Oh, Andre Albertson, he's going to be with us again. We're going to be going through investing. This brother has his own blog. He also talks about stocks. He teaches stock investing classes. He talks about different forms of investing like housing and the market, and talks about his our ability to be able to generate passive income through our investment strategies. He has a beautiful wife. He has a wonderful life doing what he's passionate about. And so we're going to bring him right on in and get started. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andre.
Hey, thanks for having me back on the show here.
Man, I had to. I really enjoyed talking with you the last time, and I can be selfish a little bit as a host and be like, I want him back. Go get him for me. Uh, so
Well, hey,
this is our
I appreciate that, brother. It's good to be back.
definitely, especially with the people that I'm able to actually follow on social media. You have your own website, at the Millennial Next Door, and I just really find your website just very enlightening. So again, thank you for taking the time. I know you do financial advising and coaching, and you have a busy life. So thank you for your time.
Yes, no problem at all.
Definitely. Look, there are some previous questions I remember us talking about that I don't know if we were actually able to elaborate on or really get into. Um, I want to talk about a few general questions, and then I want to narrow it down a little bit as we go. And I always enjoy talking to you, so we'll see what kind of fruit comes from the conversation. Let me
Okay.
ask this. There seem to be so many factors that impact our investing. Um, what tools do you suggest the general investor has in their hands when they start looking at investing? It can be such a broad topic. It's sometimes even hard for people to
Mhm.
figure out where they want to start. What tools should we initially start off with?
Okay. For this, I'm gonna use my cheat code. Guys, if you got a phone, you can use this. So think about it like this. We have so much technology and information at the tip of our hands these days, compared like when Bill Clinton was president. You can Google anything basically. So you can Google what is a stock, what is a REIT, what are some good stocks to invest in, what's an index fund, so on and so on. I always think that's the best place to start because what it does is just going to lead them down a rabbit hole. So kind of like how I got started with the real estate investment trust. I didn't know what it was. I Googled it one day and I said, oh, that looks
Right.
interesting. I dived in. And that's kind of been a core part of my strategy. Some other good sources, of course, would be YouTube as well, Instagram for Instagram influencers such as myself, who just focus on financial topics. And then you also have Yahoo Finance, really good to keep up with the news, and
Okay.
Investopedia. They're really good on both ends. So if you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate, expert, Investopedia is a really good site for that one too.
Wow. Okay. Let me ask you this, and I think this is something you covered the last time as well. I'm talking to you. You're someone who has dove into these things, and you actually have the lived experience to be able to say, "Hey, if this happens, you may want to tweak it like this." How do we know when we're listening to someone who is an idiot juxtaposed to someone who has actually done the stuff they're teaching?
That's a very good question because you definitely have a lot of people out there who are talking and talking and talking. Usually, I would
Right.
recommend guys, if they say ABC, maybe double check it. Like do a quick Google search, go to some good websites such as Investopedia, Yahoo Finance, MSNBC, Wall Street News, Forbes, all that fun stuff. So you can double check their work. And if you're seeing that they are saying like the sky is blue, with all these other things are saying the sky is red, all right, you might need to start to follow somebody else most likely. But it always comes
Right.
down to the point where you want to double check everyone as far as what they're saying, especially if you're taking their advice seriously. And that actually brings up another good point. For all my followers, I always say, hey, I'm just an Instagram influencer. I'm a money nerd. I'm not your financial advisor. So, still do your own due diligence. When you do your own due diligence, if there are any red flags that, someone else is saying, they should come up at that moment.
Okay. So would you say when it comes to investing that red flags are consistent? So let's say someone tells me the sky is purple, right? And I start to
Mhm.
look for more information. I should continually find, okay, if he says something like this and everyone else is telling me the sky is blue, it's going to consistently say the sky is blue and not purple. Is it just a
Yes.
better argument? I find, like for instance, I was looking up this idea that people are investing in gold and silver, and some people say buy this, and other people say buy that, or buy it this time, or it's going to jump here. Well, it doesn't seem like there's a consensus on the information. Do I go with the bulk of the information that I find, or do I go with this little bubble that says, "Hey, you can make a lot of money if you do this"? Is it just I go with the information that is it a gut thing at a certain point?
You go with the information that makes most sense to you. Investing and finances in general is personal finances for a reason. What makes sense to me might not make sense to someone else. And I always use this example when it comes to investing. At the end of the day, it's opinions. Like, that's all it is.
Uh,
Two Wall Street
wow.
brokers in New York City who are paid six figures each, they can look at the same stock and one might say, hey, I'm going to buy all of this. The other might say, I'm not going to even touch that one. So it really does come down to opinions. And when I say, double fact check the people you are following, I'm talking about in the sense, let's say they say your Roth IRA can invest $10,000 in a year, which is untrue. That is something you can fact check on the IRS and see that the contribution rate for 50 and younger is 6,000. So you can do those type of things for fact checking. But you brought up a good point for gold item. Personally, I don't see the big investment for gold, but for me, that doesn't make sense. Kind of similar to Bitcoin. Some people invested in Bitcoin, some people didn't. For me, I'd play in it. So I might do maybe 5 to 10% of my money, if that. But others, they
Right.
feel the need to go ahead and go full all in. So yeah, it definitely comes down to a personal opinion on everything.
Mm. And I think you mentioned this on the last time you were on, but I kind of want you to bring it up again because I found it very, very important. You mentioned the idea that each person should have their own personal plan, and that's going to really determine how they invest. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, you're bringing up all the good topics today. All right. Your personal plan, guys, once again, I'm an Instagram influencer. I say, okay, I'm investing in Walgreens stock. That stock I invested back into December and it's done been pretty well for me. Now, just because I did that and it went up doesn't mean that was the right decision for you. You might want something different. Maybe you want dividend income. Maybe you want something a little bit more risky. Maybe you want something a little bit more safe. Maybe you wanted the same thing I wanted. Now, the main reason why I want everyone to create their own personal financial plans, because one, you have to stick with those reasons for the rest of your life. I don't.
Mm.
So, keep that in mind. And
That's very
also,
important.
there's so many, yeah, exactly. And there's so many different stocks to invest in. There's like
Right.
at least maybe five to 1,000. And when you think about it, how do you make a decision? Because you're looking at 500 different stocks. If you have your personal financial plan, you have your goal set up, you can lower that number from the 500. Maybe you can lower it down to 20. It's going to make your decision a lot easier. Just because honestly, the investing world can be very daunting. And that's usually because people don't have a game plan. They don't know where to go. They go in the building, they just
Right.
look all around, and they don't know where to go to next. But yes, with
Right.
a personal financial plan, you have your goals. That should help you along the way.
And you would think that'd be common sense, but I think it's just the whole investing world can seem so big, but to someone
Mhm.
like you, to someone financial planner or an analyst, it may seem incredibly small. who do I talk to even get started with the plan, especially if I don't come from a background that teaches anything about finances?
Yeah. As far as it comes to everything, and I compare to like a Destiny's Child. Okay, so maybe you want to talk to Beyonce, but maybe you don't have Beyonce kind of money yet. So maybe you need like come on down to Kelly, come on down to Michelle. I love Destiny's Child, by the way. But when you relate this to the financial world, if you're just getting started out, you don't have, maybe you have like 1,000 best, Google, YouTube, Instagram, that's gonna be your first places to start. Because a lot of financial planners, they might not even talk to you unless you have like 100K in assets, period. So keep that in mind. So financial planners, hedge fund managers, those are usually kind of the Beyonces of the world. Then the the Kellys, that will really be your financial coaches. That's what I used to do. Like I can get you on the right track. I can help you figure out
Oh,
your goals. And then of course, Michelle will be
okay.
the Google and the YouTube. Nothing wrong with any of those. Like you just gotta figure out which lane you're in and then move your way up. Just move your way up.
there, there are so many things I'm worried about with that analogy. But I am, I've always been a Kelly fan. But anyway, um, so uh, got you. We hear a lot about. I'm still laughing. We hear a lot about a financial team having certain people that you can have as a resource on your team. What you just
Mhm.
described is for what a lot of millennials do is a lot of googling, you looking at YouTube, being able to reference certain informational sources. Um, is it something that is investing something you can really do on your own? Like, or at a certain point, do you need to say, "Hey, I'm not quite sure. I need to go talk to somebody."
Right. Man, I'll say like this. When I was working at that financial firm, my job was to get these big checks that was like way more than my salary. Like people just drop down 100,000 to put into their retirement accounts. My job was like to get the check, make sure it goes into the correct account, and then a manager would do. They'll look at the check, make sure it's in there. They click a few buttons. That was it. Like after that, there's not much trading going on for the majority of it. Like investing is very boring. So I tell this to everybody, if you want to, you can focus on index funds and just kind of do that on a consistent basis. And more than likely, at least according to historical data, just because we can't predict the future, your
Right.
money should increase on an annual basis. And that's what it's about. It's about small increases. It's about being consistent. So really, someone can do it on their own. I think the main fear I would have for people to do on their own is just if you don't know what you're doing, or even if you do know what you're doing, like myself, I still have someone double check my work. So I say, hey, does this make
Mm-hmm.
sense to you? Is there anything else I should be looking at? Because keep in mind, you can still invest your own money on your own. You can still ask a financial planner, a financial advisor. You can say, hey, can I pay for an hour of your time? I just want you just to check my work. Simple as that.
Got you. So let me ask you this. You mentioned one potential obstacle of just not having anyone to double check your work. What would you say about, or maybe like 2 to 3 more obstacles that tend to get in people's way when it comes to investing?
Yeah, there's a lot. The first one is going to be income. Yeah,
Okay.
income has to be the one because if you don't have the money to invest, you're kind of stuck right there. Okay. So usually with that, you can do the side hustles, work overtime if possible, get a second job, pretty much do what you need to
Right.
do. That is legal, by the way. No illegal
Okay.
activities. The
No
second one
illegal.
I can Yeah, the
Okay. Go ahead.
second
I'm sorry.
one I can mention here is the information overload. Like I mentioned before, it's a lot of information out there. If you don't have your goals, like you don't know what you really want in life, it's going to be difficult for you to pick something just because someone's going to say, oh, hey, gold is really up. Someone else is going to say Walgreens stock is up. Someone else will say tech stocks are up. It's so many different things to look at that you might not do anything at all. And then last but not least, I'll definitely say consistency and having that community around you. So a lot of times, if you look on Instagram, there are such a community as the debt-free community. It's a big thing because you
Okay.
have people in your corner. You got people pushing you. That's why when people are losing weight, that's why they post those things on social media because they have to really be held accountable by others. That's why I kind of do the same for my net worth. I post my net worth on a monthly basis because my neighbors, they keep me accountable. And because of that, I feel like it's pushing me even forward if I was just like keeping it to myself.
That's such a level of transparency to post your net worth to allow other
Big.
people you may or may not really to hold you accountable. I don't
Right,
know too
right.
many people who do that. Okay, so accountability is a huge deal. Let me ask you this, and it kind of piggybacks off the second point you mentioned. Are there really that many ways to invest? Does that change depending on how much money you're putting in there? Because sometimes all I hear about is stocks, I hear about real estate,
Hmm.
and really that's all I'm hearing in the media now. I just hear about stocks and real estate. Are there
Right.
really a whole bunch of ways to invest that's really going to be, life changing?
Derek, the short answer is yes. But let's dive into it. You have
Yes, let's do it.
cryptocurrencies. Yeah, I mean, just in cryptocurrencies, you have like several different cryptocurrencies outside of Bitcoin you can't even invest in. You got Forex, you got regular stocks, you got bonds, you got REITs, you have the real estate, you have the public side, the private side, you have trucking as well. So, like on my show, that's like one of my main focuses is like there's just so many different ways to invest your money that sometimes all you need to do is just hear about. Because especially in our community, all we used to hear about, at least from my side, was real estate. Like, if you don't own real
Right,
estate, you're not going to be rich. And then we started learning about
right.
stocks. And we, as the people, are still catching up. I think we're doing a pretty good job for catching up. But there's definitely a
Mhm.
lot of ways to make money that we probably never heard of, but slowly but surely it's coming into our peripheral vision.
Got you, got you. I want to talk about that second thing you said. You said, especially in our community, all we really hear about is real estate. When it comes to that, I hear a lot about, the idea that having a home is one of the cornerstones of being able to accumulate wealth. I was on your site and I saw you posted a really interesting article about myths that 15, I think 15 myths that people have about millennials. One of them I found really interesting that really goes against the grain of what people want to say about us is we work we're willing to work multiple jobs to get stuff done.
Mhm.
Has that idea that we're willing to hustle and grind, has that affected our wealth as millennials?
I think when it comes to millennials, we are willing to work, we are willing to hustle, grind, and all that fun stuff, but we spend on things differently. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
it. So for baby boomers, the big thing was a home, cool, and I really would like to think that the internet has such a big part of all of this, especially for African Americans, because I still have family where they never even traveled outside the state, but the internet kind of opened up things. So you got Dubai, Guam, Cancun. Pretty much have so many other places that you can travel that the world got a little bit bigger, and now that's what millennials spend money on. We spend money on traveling and experiences, not necessarily tangible assets. So in that way, we can't say it has affected the net worth of most millennials, because if you don't own a home, it's a pretty good chance you're going to be paying rent to someone and you don't get any type of return from the rent. Not to say that renting is a bad decision at all, but as far as your net
Right.
worth, it's not helping anything.
Mm, got you. I saw something else on there. You also said many of us have not saved enough for retirement. Is that is that also because of our spending habits?
Yes. I think when it comes for, I don't want to say, for everyone here in America, for the majority, we either A, have too much debt, or B, we don't have enough savings, or C, it's both. And the stem cause of all that is really too much spending. And we live in a world full of things that are affordable in a sense. Let me put that in quotes,
Oh,
affordable.
so we
So
can make
your auto Yes. Your auto guy says, "Oh, this costs about $400 a month. You can afford it." It's like, yeah, I can afford it, but should I afford it? Are there things I should be affording instead, such as investing, paying down debt? And it's a little bit similar to the streaming things. There's so many different streaming services. Everything seems affordable at $10 until it starts racking up and you keep getting more and more, and you really don't check your bank
right,
account, so you really don't know. You just know at the end of the day
right,
or at the end of the month, you have like a $50 extra, and that's it.
right. Got you. So we're working more jobs, but our bills have also increased to match the income that we're bringing in with the more jobs.
Correct. Lifestyle inflation. Yeah, that's pretty much, when you get a raise at your job and your bills raise
Mhm.
as well. So, it's like, okay, I got a new job. I can't be going to the job anyway. Let me get a new Lexus. Yeah, you're not going to really notice your raise as much because this is going into the car now.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I've read articles about it's not how much money you make, it's how you spend the money that you have. Um, I remember talking to you last time, and you mentioned how you and your wife on minimal income decided to make a very big lifestyle change. You went from, working a great job at this bank, like you said, into doing your own thing. And I hate this word, but when it comes to making a change that's going to be more substantive, what is your budget like? Ugh, I hate that word. So, what is when you're trying to invest? Is it going to be a small beginning off rip, or is it just depend on where you are?
It depends on where you are.
Hmm.
And just to dive into, if someone has an extra $500 a month, then yeah, you're probably way ahead of me when I first started investing. I was investing by maybe $30 a month at most, just because I was still new to. I didn't know what to do. But
Right.
at the end of the day, it's just important just to get started with investing. Your best friend is going to be compound interest, and your best friend of your best friend is time. So the earlier you get started, the better, because you can go through all the ups and downs of the market. You have more time to let that compound interest grow in your favor.
Got you. Let me ask you this. 'Cause I do see that a lot. I do see the idea of time playing a huge role of impact when it comes, especially stuff like compound interest and letting stuff appreciate. I see that a
Mhm.
lot. Let's say, oh, I'm not 25, I'm not 30. Let's say I'm a 40-year-old man looking to invest and really make a change for maybe not for me, but for my beneficiaries, whoever those may be. Could be my niece, my nephews, could be my own kids. What does that require that I take bigger risks in order to meet those same goals as someone like an Andre who started when he was 24, 25? Or does that mean I just have to be smarter? How does that I feel like the older you get, the more risk you have to take in order to achieve a fantastic goal that's bigger than yourself. Is that true?
Yes. So let's break it down. So the rule of thumb is the older you get, the less risk you should take, because the riskier stocks, those have the better chance of falling down to the ground. So imagine, you're 40, you're 50, you say, okay, I need to really move fast and do all these risky stocks. And something like what happened last year happens, where the market crashed
Right,
and you're trying to retire. Like all your stocks are in the ground. You can't retire at that
right,
time. So the rule of thumb is, of course, as you grow older, be less risk. Now, reality sets in. So that 40-year-old,
right,
he doesn't have any type of retirement savings. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna have to work, man. You're gonna have to get some other jobs to get that thing moving. You're gonna have to do a little bit more risk than someone else in your age who saved by maybe 20 years ago would have to do. Yeah, you're gonna have to
right,
really play catch up at that time. And the thing with the playing catch up and taking on those risks, it's not guaranteed. So, you can put all your money into it, maybe 60 years. And once you hit that 60, 65 mark, it still might not be where you want it to be because, you still can't get the time back. You just have to keep pushing
right.
more fire into those accounts.
Mm-hmm. Mm, got you. Got you.
Yeah,
So
it'll
what
be
is
a challenge.
what is the calculation for that risk return ratio? What does that even look like? If I'm saying my return, I want my return to be this, here's how much risk I'm willing to take. Is there a calculation for that? Is there a scheme for that I need to know about?
Not necessarily a calculation. It'll kind of come down to your risk appetite. But basically, the higher your return that you want, ideally, the higher the risk. If you want a low return, that means you're going to be taking on a lower risk. So that's kind of the rule of thumb on that one. But keep in mind, sometimes a 25-year-old, 30-year-old, they might be investing, but they might say, what, my risk appetite, I just don't want to do anything risky, which is perfectly fine. So yeah, they'll go ahead and say, okay, well, low risk equals usually, typically low returns. and higher risk
Okay.
usually equals higher returns. But once again, those risks are real risk. So, you can invest $500 into, let's say, Tesla, and Tesla's been dropping this year, and that's part of the risk.
Hmm. So there's just no way to avoid that. Is that where the idea of you being able to do research and have a community and be able to be around people who have done things, is that where that comes in?
Yes, it does. The idea behind the community is just accepting the fact that we don't know everything. And sometimes someone else might know something you don't know that could really benefit you. A perfect example, my brother, he invests, but he's not really like checking the markets every day like I am. And we talked a little bit about this on the show last time about Wall Street bets when the GameStop stocks shot all the way up, AMC
Right.
shot all the way. My brother just so had happened to own AMC. He didn't hear about it. So we just happened to be talking, our little small community. I said, hey, AMC is up right now. And I didn't know he owned the stocks either. I said, oh, you own stocks? Yeah, I mean, you should probably sell right now. I don't think it's going to get any higher anytime soon. So, that's what he
Right.
did. But if you wasn't part of a community, you won't know. You might miss out on things that could really be beneficial for you.
Got you. Got you. So if I'm correct, what I'm hearing is make sure you have a community of people around you who are looking at investing. Make sure you have your own financial investment plan, and make sure you're willing to really take on the risk of whatever you're doing. The older you get, the way you change your plan is going to fluctuate. If I'm correct,
Correct. It should fluctuate. It really should.
it
So,
should
if you're
fluctuate.
managing your own portfolio, like 10 years ago, you've been real risky with your money. That's fine. But maybe start to dial it back now. Say, okay, I need to save some of this cash a little bit because I might be retiring in the next 10 to 20 years. I want to make sure a good amount of cash is saved up for me there. But no, man, no, you got that's a good summary.
Yeah, man. Because I learned. Look, I learned so much from this show. I really have. Even just looking at stock markets, even people have commented like, "Yo, if I want my money to work, it can't be sitting in a savings account all day. I got to invest. It has to move. My dollars have to be working for
Mhm.
me." Being able to have that idea that sometimes you don't do it all on your own. You have to have a community around you to actually have a plan, to actually be able to mitigate my risk by research and stuff of that nature. This show has really been a blessing for me, as I hope it is for our viewers. And that's why I'm so always so happy when we get guests like yourself who are willing to come on the show and really talk to us, because these kind of conversations, while they come across as casual, I get a lot from them, and I hope our viewers do too. So
Yeah.
I'm always just extremely grateful, for you being here and for our audience being here and for being here myself. I learn a lot.
No, I mean, I enjoy being here on the show, and you mentioned the financial plan. This is a casual thing. Definitely for the viewers, your financial plan, it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to include
Mhm.
graphs. I mean, you can get a piece of paper and just start writing down everything. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy. I
Right.
promise. The math is the math. The math still adds up no matter whatever you write it on.
One thing I do remember from our last conversation that I do want you to kind of speak on for a few couple of minutes. We only have a few minutes left. Is the doing part. You mentioned a lot that yeah, you have a plan, but you have to go and just do it. Like there are some things you kind of just say, hey, I just went out and just did it. When do
Hmm.
you stop planning to do? I can actually get myself in trouble a lot because I will research and research and research and research and research and never actually do anything. Like when do you actually just jump in?
Right. My advice for this one be give yourself no more than a month. So after a month, if you
Mm,
are being diligent, you're actually putting time in, not like you say you looked at your phone for 2 days and saw a few YouTube videos. I'm talking about like you actually really putting in the work. 1 month. That should be all the time you need to at least make a plan and go forward with your plan. If you don't feel 100% like your plan is going to work, that's perfectly fine. So, Investopedia, they have a simulator that you can use, and that's paper money. So, it's not your real money, but you can start to trade on that simulator. You can kind of see how these things are working for you. Another option is okay, well, I think my plan is going to work. It might not. I'm still nervous. Put a little bit of money into it. Just give it a taste of of what might happen. Because yeah, I think at the end of the day, getting your feet wet is the most important thing. When I got my feet wet, I'm pretty sure my stock tanked like maybe a year or two later on. But hey, you live, you learn.
Right. Got you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a blessing to have you here. Thank you so much. Where can we find you at?
Yes, everyone, you can find me on Instagram, the Millennials Next Door, and actually, I'll be doing my summit this month for Financial Literacy Month. So yeah, happy Financial Literacy Month, everybody.
All right, shameless plug for the summit. Tell me about it.
Oh man, okay. So this is my third annual investing summit. And man, it's just a beautiful experience. Like it's just me, a bunch of my other friends talking about stocks. So this year we got about a good 12 individuals, and we all give sessions on our own styles of investing. So I used to talk about real estate investment trust. Someone will be talking about option trading, stocks 101, index funds, ETFs. I relate this to a food court. So you go to a food court, there's all these samples around. You can taste
Right.
this one, taste that one. That's pretty much what this summit is. So it's to give you a taste test. You're not going to become an investing expert overnight. It's not going to happen, but you're going to get a good taste and you can kind of say, okay, I like this type of investing. Let me focus in on this one now. So yeah, that's the whole goal behind the summit. But yeah, it's just a fun time for us.
Got you. That's awesome. Andre, thank you so much for your time, man.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me again.
This was good for me. Family, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us tonight for Financial Freedom. We hope to see you soon. Y'all, and with everything going on out here, please be safe out there. Be well.